Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 7th of November. This is for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you an overview of what we can all expect collectively, but please stay with me. I will then dive deep to give you in forensic detail each of the signs from Aries through to Pisces and the key influences for each of those. Now, this week sees on Tuesday a total lunar eclipse, an event which is going to provide an influence for the next 6 months. Now, the sign of Taurus where this occurs is actually where the moon is rather happy. It's exalted in the sign of Taurus, so it's its second favourite location after being domiciled in the sign of Cancer, but it's very close to the planet of disruption, Uranus. And if you recall, over the last couple of years, Uranus and the planet of restriction, Saturn, in the sign of the collective, Aquarius, have off and on been grating in an attritional and stressful right angle called a square. Now that threads its way through this event. Now, we also have close to the Moon and Uranus the North Node, a very significant point in terms of our collective destiny. But on the other side of the heavens, we have the Sun, Mercury and Venus all in Scorpio. The significance of the cluster in Taurus, the cluster in Scorpio and the position of Saturn is they're all in fixed signs. Fixed signs prefer continuity. They're happier with knowing how things are, maintaining a degree of stability. So Uranus is pushing us to be more outspoken about our rights in terms of our self-worth. So we're seeing a lot of protest and dissent, but also we're seeing the cost of living crisis, and a lot of that is because the second house of Taurus governs food and food distribution. Now obviously we also have the sign of Taurus being an earth sign, very much about the environment and the cost of utilities to heat our homes, to cook with, to light our homes as well. All these are hot topics. So the way people are relating to the right angle between Uranus and Saturn, and have been over the last couple of years, whether it's big government, big business, individuals, collective associations, such as citizens, finding an outlet through social media, or perhaps union output, is that everybody has a different take on how they want changes to occur. And it's obvious that some kind of reset is occurring, and we need to try to adapt to deal with this, and it's really not easy. Now, concurrent to this, the two rulers of the sign of Scorpio are in conflict, Mars and Pluto. So Pluto's in the part of the horoscope that's to do with wanting to maintain the old world order, so big government, big business. But Mars is in the part of the zodiac which is to do with how we think and articulate our ideas, but it's now in retrograde. But they're not on good terms. So this adds to the strident mix that's bubbling up. Also, Mars is in a right angle to Neptune, the planet of dreams and the ephemeral world. And this is creating a lot of illusions, a lot of dishonesty, quite honestly. And we're finding that more and more stories about corruption and dishonesty, particularly around money and people looking out for their friends when they have influence, or we're also seeing sexual impropriety. A lot of stories are coming to the open. So all of this is going to be quite a feature over the next 6 months. But please stay with me as I decipher all of this for each of your 12 zodiac signs. But if you would like to understand what year 2023 will hold for you as an individual based on Sirius astrology, and rise above your zodiac forecast, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place of birth, I can produce your forecast for next year. And in my special package, you get the rest of this year free, and also your life roadmap, your character analysis, which helps you to understand some of the patterns that have repeated themselves, perhaps more difficult energies, but also help you to have greater understanding of your opportunities. And there's 30% off. Please see the link below. Finally, if you're new to my channel, thank you so much for joining me. I'd love it if you would subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. If you're an ongoing viewer, thank you so much for all your support. So Aries, your week commencing the 7th of November forecast is likely to see you feeling quite unsettled. And perhaps part of the issue is not just that the fact that the total lunar eclipse is suggesting that some changes are coming to your everyday finances, perhaps how you view the world, even view your own self-worth, are also going through a period of change. Now, your ruler Mars in retrograde is in the sign of ideas, but also the sign for you, which can be very much to do with your neighbours, to do with your siblings, to do with people in your immediate environment. But because it's in retrograde, you may find that if you go into situations in your usual, very enterprising and spontaneous way, that you may not quite get the results that you want. This is a time when you need to be really very patient. Now, patience is a virtue, we know, but also sitting on our hands and doing nothing and agonizing over what we should do can equally be very negative. So what the planetary influences are asking you to do at the moment is review, and review in a really seriously self-honest way. Uranus is the planet that rules astrology. In mythology, it's very much the ruler of the sky, but it's about the higher truth. So you have an opportunity to view your qualities, your talents, your abilities in a very realistic but truthful way. If you do this, this can be quite mercurial for you in a way, because you can go through a process, because also Mercury, so close to the Sun in the sign of change and transformation, Scorpio. This could see you, if you can understand what you have to offer and pitch it at the correct level with realistic expectations, you could actually develop a plan this week, as long as you don't rush in, which is actually really quite ingenious. But it may require you to change something, or to talk to people in positions of influence you may not necessarily like, whether it's a bank manager, a business advisor, maybe something to do with wider funding, a potential client. And if you can just engage with those processes in a step-by-step, very assured but singular way, without rushing in, and just watching all the different things that are moving around you and being mindful of those, that is still going to see you have a window of opportunity. Now, where things can get a bit more complex could be around where you share things, whether it's your time, whether it's your life, whether it's your finance. The relationships you have that are very deep and bonded could be tested at this time, particularly if you want something different from your future, but in order to get it, you may have to give up something you've got now. So in other words, some kind of transition's needed, and it may be that the person that you need to closely relate to would prefer you to stick with what you know, because that works for them. And that could create a lot of frustration and a degree of pushback. So don't necessarily expect everyone to instantly get on to what you're trying to do, particularly if your plan's not really worked up. Remember, this influence is going to last for 6 months. So this is big stuff. Also, Venus, the planet of devotion and relating in the 8th house, is very sexual, but that's in a square with Saturn this week too. So if you're in a tie that's been ongoing and you're not really feeling the same level of enjoyment or pleasure or resonance in that tie, whether it's with a lover, whether it is with a business partner, whether it's with a friend, that tie could be tested quite strongly this week. But staying as we are for us all is probably not an option. But for you, it's very important to use the truth, the message of Uranus can bring to your situation. But it will be you who can deliver that message. It just requires you to pause a little bit and just weigh everything up before taking action.